lead a Fortune 500 company, and that for the first time the CEO mantle had been passed from one woman, Anne Mulcahy, the outgoing CEO, to another. What a ridiculous way to make history. Though both headlines were factually correct, the press missed what was a unique story. How did this happen? How is it that the Xerox Corporation had two female CEOs, one after another? How did the Xerox Corporation produce the first African-American woman CEO? That should have been the conversation, not these ridiculous stories proclaiming, "Oh my God, not one but two women," and "Oh my God, a black woman made it." Was it truly so amazing to think a black woman could lead a multi-billion-dollar company? I had worked at Xerox for 29 years by then. I had a strong track record. I was very well educated. I hadn't been plucked from a circus sideshow. I had earned the position. In that instant, I joined the top 500 business leaders in the United States out of a population of 306.8 million. That is 0.000163% of the total population. And the repercussions were immediate. I got congratulatory calls or emails from at least 100 other CEOs and from high-profile African Americans. I heard from my good friend and mentor, Vernon Jordan, the corporate titan and advisor to President Clinton, and from Ken Chenault, the chairman and CEO of American Express, on whose board I sat. I also received congratulations from many others I didn't know, like the civil rights leaders Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, and the basketball legend Magic Johnson, himself the CEO of the $1 billion Magic Johnson Enterprises. I got phone calls from U.S. senators and members of Congress, and practically every company and nonprofit in the country asked me to join their boards. How many commencement addresses was I asked to make? How many speaking engagements? How many media interviews? My teenage daughter, Melissa, was unimpressed. "The phone's for you," she told me that night. "I think it's a newspaper or something." The enormous amount of attention continued for days. I was at our home in Rochester, a mid-sized city in upstate New York, and the manufacturing and engineering headquarters for Xerox at the time. Everyone knew everyone else. So there were smiles and congratulations on the street and in the grocery store and in the dry cleaners every time I left the house. There were paparazzi, too. It was impossible for me to be unaffected. I'd made it. I'd arrived. I felt terrific, but also apprehensive. I was not becoming the CEO of Apple. I was becoming the CEO of Xerox, which had gone through 2 or 3 near-death experiences by then. The company had to be led, to be managed, to be strengthened, and it was not going to be an easy ride. Xerox needed a lot of work, and I quickly returned to the company's nondescript executive headquarters in Norwalk, Connecticut. There was no lavish suite of offices and anterooms waiting for me, no special floor with private dining rooms, no moving from floor A to a fancier floor B, as so many corporations offer their top executives. That was not the way it was at Xerox, and I liked that egalitarian modesty. I returned to my old office where I worked for 2 years as president of Xerox, kitty corner to the office Anne had used as CEO. Both our offices were larger than the others in the unremarkable and inexpensive 4-floor building Xerox rented as our corporate headquarters, and each had a perk, a private bathroom, one with a shower. There were very few other Xerox executives in that building. The majority of the company's leadership lived in the field. The head of research and development lived in Rochester, as did the executive who ran manufacturing. The sales executive for the United States lived in New York City, while his counterpart for sales in Europe lived in France. We had hundreds of offices and buildings all over the world, which now, in the midst of the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, seems redundant. One of the questions the pandemic has laid bare is whether we really need to come into an office all the time to do our work.